Welcome back to Hot Rod Guy Garage. This can be another episode on the Turbo 306 cylinder build in the 70 Torino. So follow me along through the intro, and I'll be back. So guys, I've been waiting on my head to get back from being ported. I did go pick it up last night. It's a Wednesday at this point, so I got home today and I cleaned this head up, sprayed a little paint on it. It's out here drying. I'll show it to you, but let's see if we can get this head on this car. So, got my head back from the machine shop, and we got some pretty nice port work going on right here. I got our new comp valve springs on there, and our new valve seals. I went right here, sprayed a little blue paint on it, and that's currently drying. So the big goal is we gotta get this on the car. And a lot of you may be wondering why it took so long to get the head ported. Because I wanted to kind of prove a point that a stock EFI head with proper port work and stock size valves could outflow that Pro Max big valve CNC head. And we're within 3 CFM of the Pro Max head with stock valve sizes. So I'll drop that flow data right in here, and I'll show that to y'all. But let's get this paint dry, get this car cleaned up a little bit, prepare for a head gasket. So it's kind of dark here in the garage, but hopefully it's not too dark for y'all. But basically, I just gotta wipe the deck down, put the head dowels in. I'm gonna start a couple of our head studs to line the head up. We'll drop this thing down on there. And no matter how much you clean something, guys, it's still gonna be dirty. And this is what our head dowels look like after sitting in that rust remover. Be ready to go back down in here. Just like that. Head dowels are probably one of the most important things that you can forget to put in. So on 306 cylinder to go between cylinders 2 and 3, then one back here to the back of cylinder 6. And for our head gasket, I got the Permatorque SD, which is pretty much a Felpro performance gasket. The part number on this is 525 SD. Anytime you can get a head gasket that has a stainless steel fire ring, the better off you are. And a gasket like this has a nice coating on it and shouldn't require any kind of additional sealer. I still like copper spray my gaskets, and that's what I'll do in this case, but it's a real good looking head gasket. Well, in an act of Congress, I've got the cylinder head set back on here. Don't know if anybody's trying to waft a big old 6-cylinder head up over a fender of a car, but the thing's pretty heavy. So, got our head gasket on there. I decided against copper spraying it. I wiped the bottom of the head down just like I did the block. Got our dowels in there, and our cylinder head sitting on the block. So, now it's time for those head studs. And alright, this is ARP head stud kit 152-401. It's their Ford 306 cylinder inline head stud kit. So you're going to get head studs, the nuts and washers, and a pack of lube. This lube is mega important when you go tighten this. It's going to go between on your threads and on the top side of these washers. Do not put no lube on the bottom side. And if you got a small block forward and you're using a head stud kit, make sure you put some thread sealer on these lower threads or it will leak water. On 306 cylinder, all the head bolt holes are blind, so there's no sealer required. So in our case, we're putting these head studs in here dry into the block. You'll have a long and short side. The short side is always going to go down. And you never want to tighten these up more than hand tight into the block. So what I like to use is an Allen wrench. This is a 3/16. And I'll just run these studs down until they lightly bottom out. Then I'll be done. So I'm going to go ahead and continue putting all my head studs in here. And I'll be back. And some of your ARP washers are actually tapered on one side. These are not. Do not put any lube on the bottom sides of these, because if you do, you'll have inconsistent torque readings, and the lube only goes on the top side, bottom side of the nut and on the threads themselves. Now, I'm not going to bore you watching me put all the nuts on, but what I like to literally do, I'll just take a little of this lube and put it on the bottom of this nut. You can use your fingers or whatever right here. And I'm just going to take a little bit on my finger and rub it on this stud. And then I'll run all these down by hand, and we'll go from there. And all right, they want you to torque these in 3 even steps, finishing at 90 foot-pounds. So I've done run these down hand tight. I'm going to start off at 30, and then I'll hit 60, and then I'll hit 90. Not going to bore you with watching me torque the head, but this is pretty much what's going to go on. And in an effort to keep dirt out of the cylinders, I'm going to go ahead and screw the plugs in it. These are an Autolite 124. Anybody knows a colder big plug, spark plug, that'll work in this stock 306 cylinder head? Let me know. But I'm literally just going to squeeze in here finger tight. Just keep from anything falling down in the bore. So now it's time to move on to push rods and rocker arms. And we're going to have to check our push rod length. And all right. So on a pedestal style rocker like these factory ones are, what I like to do to check the preload on the lifters is I'll run the exhaust rocker arm down, and I'll run the intake one down until it just, you can't just lightly turn it there. Now these lifters aren't pumped up, so you have to watch what your push rod's doing. But generally on a pedestal rocker arm, you're going to want it anywhere between a turn to 3/4 to turn and a quarter is what I usually do. So that's a half turn, 1 1/4. So we should have proper preload on this one. I'm going to spin this around and check the other one. And this would have been easier if I wouldn't have screwed the plugs in it, but that's what I've done. So just going to repeat this process over here, loosen it up until our push rod's free. I'm just going to touch it right there. I'm going to put my ratchet in it. So if I don't back it up like I just did. And I'm going to put my ratchet in it. It's a half, 1 turn, and a 1/4. So looks like our push rod lengths are going to be okay with the comp camshaft that's in this motor. This is just a quick way to check it, guys. If you have a roller rocker arm, you actually want to check to see how your tip's centered up on here, and that will determine your push rod length along with the preload on lifters. So I'm going to proceed this process the rest of the way down this motor, and then I'll be back. So got all the preloads checked. They're all exactly 1 1/4 turn. Ford specking is anywhere between 1 and 2 turns from 0 lash. I prefer to do this with lifters not pumped up. That way I can actually feel when we make contact. So got all the rocker arms installed. They're toward 20 foot-pounds. So literally the next thing for me to do is put the valve cover gasket on there. So let me get that on there and I'll be back. Well, here's our big bright blue thing that come with our engine gasket set. So looks like it's only going to go on one way, so we'll just pitch it on there like that. Then I'll come over here and see, lay it on there. I'm really not a fan of these silicone style gaskets, as I like to call them, or some kind of rubber, but they're really soft rubber. So you don't use any sealant with these. It's literally just going to lay on there like that. And before I put the valve cover on, I'm going to go ahead and lube all my pedestals to make sure they're good and lubed at startup time. And I also forgot to mention that I did lube the tips of the push rods with Moly lube. And on these pedestals, I'm literally just going to put some engine assembly lube up here around them. And it will soak through the oil passages on them. And they'll be good and lubed. When we prime this engine before we start it. But just going to repeat that process on down. So it'll be nice to put this on for pretty much the final time. So I have to get my bolts and then I'll show you what our clearance is going to be like. And like magic, our valve cover's tightened down. I got to find something to put in these 2 breather holes, plug them off. And I got to tape up the ports over here. But pretty much our head's on there. Rockers are on. Next things will be our thermostat housing, our intake and exhaust manifolds, which I'm working on porting the intake manifold now to match these ports and to match the gasket that come with our gasket set. And it won't be long after that, we should be able to fire this thing up. So hopefully, this thing will actually run some numbers. A lot of you probably confused why you use stock rocker arms. Mostly to save cost. Roller rocker arm at most would probably pick up anywhere between 3 and 5 horsepower. I can literally turn the boost up a pound and make more power. So we got a lot of work ahead of us at this point, but they had cylinder head back. So that's the positive thing. It's on the motor. And I've got to clean up this very expensive Offenhauser intake. It's got a bunch of core shift built into it compared to our gasket that we're going to be using. And compared to our cylinder head. So I've got a bunch of work ahead of me there. We got to get the exhaust manifolds on the motor, and then we can start on that turbo fabrication. So hopefully our next video will be getting exhaust manifolds on it, and then from there we can start working on turbo fabrication. So if you like these kind of videos, guys, make sure you like this video, comment down below, because it helps YouTube pick this up on their algorithm. And most importantly, if you're not a subscriber and you're watching my channel, I'd appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button. It does help the channel to grow and helps me to bring you better videos. So until the next time, guys, thanks for watching. And that's it for this episode on the 70 Torino 306 cylinder turbo swap for the No Name Nationals. And I'll see you at the next video.